Hello and welcome to the transcription explanation of this design. There's a lot of assembly required for this design to be a full forearm wraparound sleeve. Well, a half sleeve because it's only the forearm. But this is the design. This is the actual words and letters. And I've also done this where I have some reference lines where this line is marking the center of the inner forearm, and this is center of what would be the back of the arm, so this is the back of the wrist. So yes, this is the same picture, just mirrored, but that's just because I didn't have a picture of the other side of the arm. But it helps with the right scale because it's still going to be that silhouette sort of a size, to kind of help do my best to get it to your measurements as best I can, but you're probably going to have to do some fiddling with these individual pieces to get them sized a little bit to fit a little bit nicer and make it a perfect fit for you. So, if you're going to, before going to your tattoo artist, I recommend printing these off and cutting them out, and then resizing them individually a little bit, to make sure you know how they fit together and making them happy. But yeah. Let's go ahead and talk about my little color coding thing here. So this is the first design, not because it's read first, but because it should be tattooed or placed first, because it's a very distinct spot, because it's working with the existing tattoo here, so that's why this green one is first. And then the second one is this yellow or goldish one, because it's going to nestle right in with that green one. And we're going to save this red one for last, actually, because of its linear shape. We can kind of rotate it as well as scale it to give it a lot more flexibility in the footprint it takes, because rather than being a circle shape, it's this line, and it can it can go wider and shorter if it needs to be, and it can go longer and skinnier if it needs to be. But its position will be placed at the end. And let's go ahead and move on to our third placement. Our third placement is this one, which is the purple one, and it is this one. And this is placed before it can't cross the middle line of the inner arm, because we need to have the other side of the middle line here free for this design, because it needs to have its space and we need to save room for that. So it's going to be on the side of the wrist here, and then work and towards the back of the arm here. And that's just to kind of place the bottom of it before using this big design here, because this is going to be fill up what space you can sort of a design for this fourth one in blue. And it's going to be basically as big a circle as you can fit between this gold one and this green one and this purple one. And then using the top little bit, so if we're looking at my tattoo, right, that one will go around here. And then at the top here, there's still going to be some more room for you to put this little maroon one at the top. And then last but not least, we're going to stick this one in here. And these little radiating lines, you can grow and extend and sort of fade them out to really fill in all of the space that we have. So like we could, have these little lines shoot out as far as you want to put them. But this will not actually be an empty space here, because the middle is going to be wider than the end, so it's going to taper down. But yeah, it should fit together quite nicely, and that's my little spiel about putting them on and what order to put these on. So let's go ahead and read them. So these are, actually, before I get into reading, these are what I'll send you as individual files, so you'll get 6 images, plus this image here of them all put together with context, plus this image here of just the clean line work. And now let's go ahead and read it. So this shape here is a start marker. It tells us where to start reading and what orientation to read in, and there's a couple of them throughout. There's another one here, there's another one here, there's another one here, and there's another one here. So there is one for pretty much all of the little sections, except for this section, which doesn't have one because there wasn't really room at the bottom for it. Plus, it just follows in a really logical order of bottom counterclockwise. For this one, it's the same orientation and everything for that one. And you're not going to be like rotating your wrist. And if this one is visible, this one will be clearly visible. But yeah, that helps with the designs and reading them is having a start marker. So here's our first start marker, and our first letter of this word is a shallow divot shape. So if we look at the grid above me, the shallow divot's going to be in the third row, and it has two little antennae, these two little lines sticking off of it, put it into the column with two lines. So this is a W because that's in the third row and in the column with two lines. And then we have an E centered on our word circle line. And then we have this double circle. And because these two circles are the same thickness, it's going to be the same letter twice. And there's 1, 2, 3 dots with it, so that's a double L. So this is the word well. And this filled in circle is a comma. So this is the word well, comma. So well. And then this word circle starts with a Y, a crossing circle with two dots. Our O is inside, and a U has a line going out. So that would be U. And then we have this double line going from our word circle to our sentence circle. So that's an apostrophe. And then we have two L's again, similarly two thin little concentric circles with three dots. So that would be a double L. So Y-O-U apostrophe double L. So Yule. And then we have this shallow divot here, 1, 2, 3 dots on it for an R. Our E is centered, M with three lines, another E, and another M. These M's are kind of mirrored, so it's easy to tell they're the same letter, similarly with these ones being the same letter L. And we have a B-E-R, so R-E-M-E-M-B-E-R. So you'll remember. And then this is a floating circle with one line here, plus these two antennas here, so that's 3 total lines. And then our E, just like this E on our word circle, so me. And then this word circle, all it has is this little A here. And this A looks like it could be part of this word, but it is closer to this one, so it goes here. So this whole word circle, all it has is that letter A. So that's And then L with 3 dots, I, T shallow divot with no modifiers. These 3 dots are a little bit more affiliated with this letter stem than this letter stem, which is why it goes with these instead of these. So that's just a T, here's another T, this is another L, and that's an E, so that's little. And then this is our period at the end of our sentence. So because this little circle is on our sentence circle instead of a word circle, we know that it is punctuation instead of a letter. So that is a period. So well, comma, you'll remember me a little is what this first bit says. And then we have this section, which is going to be theoretically the largest circle on the back of the forearm. Though it might be of a same size or very comparable size to the circle going around the doggo. So, let's go ahead and read this one. Start marker is here. We have an I with a line going inwards. This is another apostrophe, and then another double L, so that's I'll. And this little A, again, is shifted just a tiny bit. Actually, I'm going to make it even more extreme. Towards this one. So we know that it's not part of this, it's part of this. We'll make it a little bit more extreme. There. That won't actually affect the thing I'm printing off, so we're going to do it there. Actually, we're just gonna we'll re-separate them from this one. Okay. So, we were here at the A, which is on this word. No, we're not, because we haven't read the rest of these. Anyway, I apostrophe double L is I'll. And then we have this horseshoe shape, so it's the top row, and it has no dots or lines, so it's the first column, so that's a B. And then our E is centered, so B. Here's another word, so I'll be And then this big circle is just adding some emphasis to this word here. It's a sentence circle, just an extra circle going around our word. And this S has 1, 2, 3 lines on it. And yes, this thick circle counts as 2 of the line modifiers on this S because it ends in those 2 places. It doesn't matter that it is just a curved line ending on it twice. It's not like this, because this is a full circle. This is just a broken circle, or the 2 lines coming from the S. So S with 3 lines, T with nothing, O internal, R with 3 dots, and then a Y crosses with 2 dots. So that's story. And then we continue around. Here's an I with a line going inwards, and then our N with 1 line on it. So that's in. Our Y has 2 dots, O internal, U line going out, R with 3 dots, so that's your. H with 2 lines, E centered, A outside, and then the D has 3 dots here. And when you're making the connection between these two, you're going to be working with this being a full circle, so you're going to have to erase a little bit. Well, you can't erase, but because this is on first, you don't have to worry about erasing. You just simply won't have the tattoo artist add any of these extra ridgy bits going around it where the overlap is. So, like that. if the overlap needs to change, right, and you need to do something more like this, you simply wouldn't have these where it intersects. You would just do that outer bit. And that's why I have a little bit, I have quite a bit of leeway in where this design attaches. So it can attach, this far in if you need it to, or even further out if you need it to. Just continue the pattern of these little lines. So this is kind of like a buffer area for where you can connect and attach the design. And let's go to this one, which has a similar little buffer area, and you can rotate this one as well if you need to attach it more here or more here, because what matters is that this is still the bottom, and counterclockwise is still this way, so you can't flip or mirror it. But here's a B, a horseshoe shape with no modifiers, a U with a line going outwards, and then a T. So that's the word but. And then we have TH, a crossing circle with no modifiers, A outside the word circle, a T with nothing on it, and then another apostrophe, a double line going out, and then an S with 1, 2, 3 lines on it. The two thin ones and the thick ones. So that's the word that's. Then our O is internal, a K has 2 dots, A is external, and a Y crosses with 2 dots. So that's okay, and then there's our period. So those are our 3 little chunks here. And again, similar overlap thing. You can very much adjust the overlap of this one. And because this one will be completed, this is going to be a crisp, clean circle. So you just simply will not add any extra overlapping lines, or just kind of extend them out a little bit if you need to. So there is that. And then we have this one. So we have our start marker here. And going counterclockwise, our first letter is a W, a shallow dip with no modifiers. Our E is centered, and then we have a double line here, and this double line has a connection from our word circle going out, so that's the apostrophe. And then our R has 3 dots, and then our E. So that's our weir with the apostrophe RE, so W-E apostrophe R-E, weir. And then bottom counterclockwise here, we have our A, and then our 2 L's. A double L is something we've seen before, so that's the word all. And then this one, starting at the bottom, we have this shallow divot with 1, 2, 3 line modifiers on it, so that's the S. This T here has no modifiers ending on it. This line passing through doesn't count because it passes through, so that's a T. Our O is inside. This R has 3 dots. I has a line inward. E is centered, and then this S has these 2 lines here, plus this third one here on this shallow divot. So that's stories. And these radiating lines are pretty much just decorative. The only ones that are part of the translation are this one and this one. But you can extend these and use these lines to fill up the empty space between things, which is why I had this one last on the to put on order. And then we have this word starting at the bottom. This looks like it might be a shallow divot, but it doesn't actually take that bite out of our word because this line is still here. And that's because this is simply a line modifier on this I. And then our N is this one with 1 line on it. And that's all that it is for the actual word, because here's our I, there's our N, and then there's no other letters. So that's just the word in. And this word, starting at the bottom, we have a T, a shallow divot with no modifiers. This horseshoe shape has the hexagon coming off of it, and the hexagon is just the line modifiers coming from this H, so 1, 2 lines on H. And then our E, so that's the word the. E is centered, N has 1 line on it, and then our D is a horseshoe with 3 dots. And then this is our period because it's on our word circle. Well, it's on our sentence circle. Sentence circle is the outer circle. So that would be the period. Oh, big yawn. Okay, so that would be the we're all stories in the end. And then we have this, which let me scooch this out. We're within the editing. There we go. Scooch this out. Alright, so now we have this. Start marker here, going counterclockwise. We have a J, a floating circle with no modifiers, a U with a line going outwards, an S with 3 lines, and a T. So that's just. And then we have our M with 1, 2, 3 lines on it. It's okay that this overlaps with the K. What matters is that there's 1, 2, 3 little lines on it. So M, A is outside, K is a floating circle with 2 dots, and then our E. So that's make. Our I has a line inwards, and then this T is a shallow divot with no modifiers. So that's it. And this little A, again, is just a little bit closer to this word circle, the A word circle. So that's the word And a G is a horseshoe with 1 line on it, 2 O's, and then this horseshoe with 3 dots is a D. So that's good. Then our O is inside our word circle, and then our N has 1 line on it, and then there's our E there. So that's the word one. And then here's a big old comma. And you read bottom counterclockwise, outer to inner. And then our inner little sentence circle has this design, and there is an E centered on it, and then an H with 2 lines. And then this this 2 dot here on our sentence circle, or inner sentence circle, is the question mark at the end of eh. So just make it a good one, comma, eh, question mark. And then we have this last phrase, which when overlapping this, it's going to be on first. So it's going to just directly go on the dog with little gaps for the ear and the paw and then the back paw. So it is very well defined on where it goes. It might not line up exactly like this. You might need a little bit more space here or here because of the three-dimensional skewing of it. Like this might actually stick out more and you might have a little less space here. It's okay if you need to erase some of these lines. What's important is you don't get rid of a dot or a full circle. The dot has to be partially present. The line has to be partially present. You can't fully erase something, and if it's fully erased, then you won't have the thing, and then it won't be part of the translation, and that's important for it to be translatable. So yeah, let's go ahead and read this. We have our start marker, and we have a B, a horseshoe with no modifiers, E, and then we have a C with 4 dots, A is outside, U with 1 line going out, this S has 3 lines on it, and then our E is centered. So that is because, and then a little space. Then we have an I with line going inwards, and then a T, because it, and then we have a W, a shallow divot with with these 2 little lines on it, so that's W, and then an A outside a word circle, and then an S with 3 lines, so that's because it was. And then this one we have a comma at the beginning of it, so we start with our little comma between the because it was, and then we have our actual word. We have a 2 dot on a crossing circle for Y-O-U, because you. And then we have this one. We have 2 stacked letters, but instead of them being the same thickness, they're actually 2 different thicknesses, and that indicates they're 2 different letters instead of the same letter twice. So you read thin to thick in that case. So this thin one has 2 dots, so that's a K, and this thick one has 1 line, so that's an N on it with 1 line. And then here's our O floating inside our word circle, little vowel, and then our W has 2 lines on it, so that's no. So you know, and then we have a comma. So again, this phrase is because it was, you know. It, a line going inwards, T shallow divot, no modifiers, W with 2 lines on it, A external, and then this S with 1, 2, 3 lines on it. So it was, and then come on, let me scroll. Please don't crash on me, Inkscape. Don't crash on me, Inkscape. Inkscape is struggling. Ah! I hope I didn't do anything. We're so close to being done. We have like 2 words left. Inkscape, why? Why is it breaking? Okay. Okay. Are we crashing? Are we crashing? Okay, we're not crashing. Yay! No, we can't move. Inkscape is not responding. Yay! Okay, everything is fine. It's fine. The joy of working on big designs. Alright, let's read our last few letters. This is a TH, a crossing circle that is bigger than a E, so this is a TH and then the E, so the. B is a horseshoe with no modifiers, E centered, S has 3 lines, T has no lines, and they're both shallow divots. That is the best. And then we have a period on our sentence circle. So, altogether, this little phrase says, BECAUSE, because it was, comma, you know, comma, it was the best, period. And that put together is the whole phrase. So yeah. So all together, a quick little read through is, well, you'll remember me a little, period. I'll be a story in your head. Period. But that's okay. Period. Stories are. No, wait. We're all stories in the end. Just make it a good one, comma. Eh. Because. No. B-E-A. Because it was, comma. You know. It was the best, period. So that is what this says. Hope that makes a little bit of sense. And please let me know if you have questions about how to assemble the design. And yeah, that's the quote. And these are little words of what it says by what it says on this reference one. Okay, let's get these exported and sent your way. Thanks. Bye.